Fresh from having cranked out 4 Ratchet & Clank games in 4 years, Insomniac Games delivers easily one of the best PlayStation 3 launch titles in Resistance: Fall of Man. It's a first-person shooter that clearly takes inspiration from the best recent examples of this style of gaming, namely from games like Halo, Half-Life 2, and Call of Duty. It presents an alternate reality version of the 20th century in which World War II never happened, but instead these horrible monsters called the Chimera suddenly showed up and quickly took over Asia and practically all of Europe. You play as a no-nonsense American soldier named Nathan Hale, sent in to relieve British forces in the UK. Soon you'll find yourself fighting practically all alone against a seemingly unstoppable enemy. The game's story has a compelling setup, but you don't learn much about Hale or the Chimera during the course of the roughly 10 to 12 hour campaign. But the story does a good enough job of setting things up, then getting out of the way so you can focus on the shooting.
The Chimeran metabolism is roughly 12 times that of humans. This results in remarkable healing abilities, but also raises their body temperatures significantly. Without the cooling apparatus, the hybrids would overheat and die.
Resistance plays just like most other first-person shooters on consoles, and the controls should feel instantly familiar to you if you've played other games of this type. The motion sensor on the 6-axis controller is put to limited but pretty good use, such as for shaking off the occasional enemy that comes in and grabs you by the throat. But for the most part, you're going to be running and gunning, while ducking behind cover to let your health recharge and to avoid your enemy's bursts of firepower. Part of what sets Resistance apart is the quality of its weapons. There are a lot of big, powerful-looking guns to use, and some interesting alternate fire modes. One of the first guns you get lets you tag an enemy so that all of your shots automatically home in on it, which is deadly. Another gun lets you literally shoot through walls and create defensive barriers for good measure. You can carry every weapon at once, and even though you'll often rely on the stock automatic rifles to get through most battles, the selection of different weapons and grenades is one of the highlights in this game. Meanwhile, your enemies make for a dangerous, sometimes unpredictable opponent. They'll use cover and flanking tactics to try to overwhelm you, and they'll attack sometimes in large numbers. They don't go down easy either. There's a good variety of Chimera species in all, but you'll be fighting the humanoid Chimeran hybrids throughout most of the game. This can start to feel a bit repetitive in spots, but mostly it's a testament to the quality of the artificial intelligence and level design that fighting these guys stays interesting and exciting. The level design in Resistance looks great and never forces you to backtrack or waste time solving puzzles or anything like that, instead pushing you from one intense firefight to the next. There are some vehicle sequences that feel like they're lifted straight out of Halo that are thrown in for good measure, and these break up the pacing a little and certainly are none welcome. There's also some solid replay value to the campaign, since you unlock extra weapons on your first time through, and you can play it with another player in a split-screen cooperative mode. In addition to the campaign, Resistance offers a fully featured multiplayer mode for up to 40 players at once, making for some of the biggest such battles ever seen on a console. There are half a dozen different multiplayer modes in all, including some of the usual suspects: Deathmatch, Team Deathmatch, and Capture the Flag. There's also a last man standing mode called Conversion, and a couple of base assault modes called Breach and Meltdown. The online mode also lets you set up friends lists, join a party to search for multiplayer games with your friends, and rank up your profile with different awards and insignias as you score enemy kills and accomplish other objectives. But probably the most interesting aspect about the multiplayer portion of Resistance is that there are 2 distinctly different sides to play. Human characters can sprint and see friends and foes on radar. Chimeran hybrids can enter into rage mode, making them faster, stronger, tougher, and even capable of seeing through walls, but only temporarily. The 2 sides seem counterbalanced nicely and add a unique twist to a multiplayer game that has a lot to offer right from the start. It's worth noting straight up that Resistance looks and sounds excellent, though you need to see it on a nice high-definition TV set in order to get the most out of its visuals. There are a few minor rough edges to the graphics, but the game puts most of its effort into making sure you see some fine-looking weapons, great-looking bad guys, and plenty of realistic environments. And the result is one of the best-looking shooters around. Resistance doesn't really try to do too much of anything completely beyond what you've probably come to expect from having played some of the best shooters released in the past couple of years. But it ranks right up there with the rest of them because it does everything at least as well, if not better. So if you consider yourself a fan of first-person shooters, be sure to find a way to give this one a shot.